8. The new perversity. The religion of chaos had, as we have noted, a new morality. Augustus was, although himself flagrantly adulterous, anxious to revive by law and punishment traditional Roman moral standards. The rising immorality was notoriously present in his own family. All his efforts were futile. The old Roman morality had been based on the asceticism of reason, and this foundation was now gone. The sensuality of chaos was the new rationale, and essential to chaos is perversity. Roman sexuality thus went from asceticism to passionate perversity. Catullus, 84 to 54 BC, had already charted the essential nature of this new temper in the previous generation. Catullus had to love what he despised, and to despise whatever he loved. Perversity and degeneracy drew him like honey. I hate and love, and if you ask me why, I have no answer, but I discern, can feel, my senses rooted in eternal torture. This temper was now basic to love. He was wildly in love with a woman, probably a lesbian, a murderess of her husband, and faithless even to her lovers. Yet he loved her more than himself and all things he ever owned or treasured, and he grieved that Lesbia's bodies given up in alleyways on high roads. A homosexual, he wrote with savage hate of Gellius, to whom he was drawn, accusing him of incest with his mother, sister, his aunt, and gymnastic fornication with himself. It was with full knowledge of these things that Catullus became involved with Gellius in this evil, disastrous love that conquered me. Catullus deluded himself that Gellius would, because of their love, check your crimes, only to find himself linked to further sins. Catullus's accusation against Gellius is equally valid of Catullus. You enjoy, better than all things on earth, love that is stripped of love, and is merely crime. This was the essence of chaos, and the essence of Catullus's poetic inspiration. In the 2nd century AD, Juvenal reported bitterly, "If you want to be anybody nowadays, you must dare some crime that merits narrow Gyara, a prison island, or a jail. Honesty is praised and starved. It is to their crimes that men owe their pleasure grounds and high commands, their fine tables and old silver goblets with goats standing out in relief. Men actually went through wedding ceremonies with men." The old morality of Cicero was echoed by Seneca, who wrote of honesty and courage, and became Nero's servile and immoral attendant. Declaring of Nero, he restores to the world the golden age. For Seneca, man, divine in that he is in part mind, and thus shares in divine mind, was apparently under no obligation to be a man in simple matters of moral integrity. The chaos cult was exemplified in Nero's life, and although the legions finally revolted, the mob in the main remained faithful to Nero and believed, in fact, that he was not dead, or, if dead, would return to lead them and to destroy his enemies, according to Suetonius. There was a systematic manner to Nero's debauchery: rape, incest, perversion. The desire to overturn every moral law characterized his activity. Significantly, Nero, according to Suetonius, utterly despised all cults, with the sole exception of that of the Syrian goddess, the Atargatis cult, a fertility cult of chaos, only to surrender it for another like faith. The Liber Pater effigy, identified with Bacchus and Dionysius, chaos cults, appeared most frequently on his coins, and his associates were apparently close to various chaos cults, Otto following Isis. When Nero died, those who continued in the tradition of Cicero and Brutus hoped to revive the Roman Republic. Significantly, they attempted this not in the name of reason, but in the name of the chaos cult. The Phrygian liberty cap of Liber Pater was adopted as the emblem of their hopes. Revolutionary cries raised in the streets, and the Senate was persuaded briefly to proclaim the return of the Republic. Their only rationale for power was anti-republican. Nero's faith was closer to the hearts of the people. Arthur Weigel's Nero, 1930, was right in one respect. Nero was popular with the mobs of Rome. As the parade of emperors began, with their frequent and usual debaucheries, and at times madness, the army raised up new emperors on their shields and then also destroyed them. It is easy to see all this simply as a long nightmare which only the consistent work of the Roman civil service overcame in order to preserve the empire. The empire did have its problems, and its long economic crisis was its central problem. Its eventual collapse was a combination of economic decline and a breakdown of meaning. But, in the process, the instability of the imperial office was not the distressing fact to the peoples that it is to the modern mind. Their faith, after all, was in the regenerating power of chaos, in revolution. To see ordinary soldiers and foreigners rise up through the ranks to command the empire, preside at the games, possess women at will, shower gold and favourites, and ride in triumph was exciting and heartening to many. It was the world they demanded, where, although men could fall suddenly, they could also rise suddenly. The Romans had become gamblers, and the empire was itself a gamble. They were not Ciceronian moralists. The Atagartis cult from Syria had brought with it an ancient partner of fertility cults, the usurers, who had been in disrepute in Republican Rome, but were used in the empire of the Republic to subjugate peoples. The Syrian moneylenders now spread throughout the empire. The chaos of debts was added to the moral chaos. Only one element of order of major significance remained in the empire: the Christians. But their adherence was not to Roman order or peace, but to God's order and peace. The Pauline epistles warned against revolutionary activity and hopes. The Christian confidence was neither in chaos nor in Roman order, but in God's regenerating power in and through Jesus Christ.